All right, superlatives time on this Monday edition of PFT Live. As always, Mike, you've got the honors. Give me anything that you want, any award you want to give, any title you want to apply to it. Off we go.
All right, I'm going to go with Zach Attack is back, and I'm bringing up Zach Martin again. Zach Martin was back on the O-line for the Dallas Cowboys to the tune of 198 yards rushing for the Cowboys, to the tune of 31 carries to 27 passes. When he is on that line, when he is not been injured the way he's been, he is the best guard in football. I would ask people, don't just watch the football. At times when the Cowboys are playing, watch number 70. If you want to get better at learning the game, watch him block. His technique is incredible. His leverage is incredible. Rarely is he ever out of bad position. So when healthy, this guy is on track for a Hall of Fame the way he's going, as long as he can stay healthy. And he's just one of the best offensive linemen to watch, whether in space, whether combo blocking to the second level. He's rarely off his feet. And he always, even if he's in bad position, he gets back into a winning way. So when he is healthy on that line, and I throw Tyron Smith in there as well, this line can do things like making it an evenly split offense, which is something the Cowboys need.
I think some folks did a double take 2 weeks ago when Zach Martin was put on the COVID reserve list, and Ezekiel Elliott said he's the best player on our offense. Well, he is.
Yep.
He is. And that offense goes if Martin is healthy and available to play. So great choice by you right out of the gates as the Cowboys get to 1-1. Me, I'm going to start with call him out every week, please. That is the award for Mike Vrabel for calling out Julio Jones last week after he got a stupid penalty. It lit a fire under Julio Jones, and this is a guy who is not accustomed to being coached hard, to being treated this way. They tiptoed around him for years in Atlanta, and ultimately it set the stage for him to be able to flex his muscles and get out the door. Didn't want to be there, and there was no one there to hold him in place. Mike Vrabel is coaching him like any other guy on the team. It's the Bill Belichick approach. Now, I don't know that Belichick would have called him out. That's Vrabel's style. But Belichick would have let Julio Jones hear it behind the scenes for making a stupid decision and costing the team 15 yards of field position last week in that loss to the Cardinals. It worked. 6 catches, 128 yards. No touchdowns, but that's kind of how it goes for Julio Jones. He'll rack up all the yards and catches, touchdowns not as much. But fulfilling the promise that the Titans envisioned when they made that trade to add him to that offense, and it also helped that Derrick Henry showed up. But if Julio Jones is good for 100 yards a week, this Titans team is going to win a lot more games than it loses, Mike.
Oh, I completely agree. And I remember A.J. Brown and Julio Jones was like, oh, my God, what a tandem. In week one, neither one was the leading receiver in yards. So you got to find, just like as I said last week, Kansas City are teams with the great receiver and or tight end. They find a way to get it to the best players. They don't just say, well, they're going to try and take that guy out. We'll go somewhere else. You find a way to get Brown or Julio Jones the ball. And yesterday it was Julio who got the ball a lot. But it leads me into my second superlative because it's the same team. And mine is put the crown back on King Henry, because what he was able to do. I mean, Derrick Henry and running the ball, I just love a guy that big, the way he runs the ball. You're just waiting for him to truck somebody. But you saw a difference in week one where they had to pass a little more. He only had 17 carries. He's a guy that needs to build up, and build up he did to the tune of 35 carries for 182 yards yesterday. And in the fourth quarter, he took over a couple of touchdowns, and that's what he does. You talk about an 8-minute offense or a 4-minute offense, and for a team like that, when you have the lead or you need to get the lead, you have a guy who can control the ball and keep the chains moving. And if you have the lead, he can help you burn the clock, or like he did in this game, give you a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter to get you right in that game and help you get the win over Seattle. So when he gets his carries, he's a guy you look at. How many carries is he getting? Because he gets better during the game. And when that big dude is smacking you in the fourth quarter, when you start to get a little tired, that's when you see him really start to lean on people and gain some yards.
Yeah, he really is incredible, and he had that quiet first week, and people started to wonder. And look, you run for 2,000 yards 1 year, it's going to be hard to get back into that category again. But he looked like the guy that we've seen and that we've grown accustomed to, and he's showing no signs of falling off the cliff. I remember when the Titans had Eddie George, he never really had a serious injury. He just got to a point where It just didn't do it anymore. You can only do so much as a running back in the NFL. I feel like Henry's got plenty more gas left in the tank as he continues to be one of the very best, if not the best, running back in the entire NFL, and a lot of fun to watch play. All right, next one for me. We touched on this game earlier, but there's a dynamic playing out that is stunning to me, and this award is silver and black greater than symbol black and gold. And the Steelers will always have the Immaculate Reception game. But starting in 2006, now this is the season after the Steelers were coming off of their long-awaited one for the thumb. Since 2006, the Steelers have been, without question, a dramatically better team than the Raiders. The Raiders have stunk. The Raiders have one playoff berth, no playoff wins. Steelers won the Super Bowl in 2008. Steelers went to the Super Bowl again in 2010. Steelers are the much better team, except when they play the Raiders. The Raiders are now 6-2 against the Steelers since 2006. It makes no sense. How is this happening? And, hey, Bill Cowher was the coach for the first game, and the Raiders won that one. But it's been Mike Tomlin ever since. So Mike Tomlin's 2-5 against a Raiders team that has not been good since 2007 when Tomlin became the head coach. It's stunning to me that the Raiders have this mastery of the Steelers, Mike, but they extended it again yesterday. I don't get it, and there probably aren't many teams out there that can boast this kind of success against Pittsburgh, but the Raiders are one of them.
You know, every time I hear Raiders and Pittsburgh, it does. Mike, you just helped me go back to my childhood a little bit because I was born and raised in Cleveland. So two things out of that. The Browns were bad then, so they were tough to root for, especially when you went to the playoffs because they weren't in the playoffs. But what else happened being born in Cleveland is you automatically hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I did growing up. So, but I needed a team that, like, in the playoffs, you know, that went somewhere. And unfortunately, it wasn't my Browns. I was a monster Oakland Raider fan back in the Kenny Stabler days. I loved them, and I loved when they and the Pittsburgh Steelers always matched up, you know, in the Immaculate Reception. At the draft, I got to make a selection for the Eagles, and Franco Harris was there making a selection for the Steelers. And we were in the green room talking, and he was talking about back in those days when they would play, you know, against the Raiders. And, man, it was just – I just loved hearing that. I loved growing up watching that rivalry and then seeing where it is today. It is kind of a head-scratcher the way the Raiders have been playing against the Steelers as of late.
I grew up in Steelers country, and the Immaculate Reception was the moment when I was 7 years old that I realized the NFL was a pretty big deal. And that's kind of the moment. And even though I wasn't a Steelers fan in Steelers country, that was a moment that I really was drawn to the sport because there was nothing like that in that time frame to get that many people excited about what the Steelers were about to become. But the Raiders, I'm sure they would trade the outcome of the Immaculate Reception for being 6-2 over the Steelers since 2006. But regardless, the NFL, Mike, is far more interesting and entertaining when the Raiders and or the Cowboys are good. And when they're both good, the NFL is a lot more entertaining.
Listen, I agree with you. And right now with the Raiders, that means you get more sideline views of Chucky, you know, on the side, which is always entertaining to see what face John Gruden is going to make. But overall, I completely agree with you, and those teams are better. The league seems to be a little more interesting. All right, my third superlative, and I'm not a creative guy, but, you know, I came up with the Zach Attack and Crown King Henry again. I'm not going to lie, I couldn't come up with one for Cooper Kupp. I tried. The juices weren't flowing, so he's my third one, just Cooper Kupp and what he's done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stats and do what we do. If the cumulative stats of what he can do and where he has 9 catches for 163 yards, and the Rams went over the Colts. He has 16 catches for 271 yards and 3 touchdowns. So you know what I'm going to do now, Mike. So he's on pace. He is on pace, Cooper Kupp, for 136 receptions, 2,312 yards, and 25 touchdowns. How great would it be if he got to all of those? But let me tell you, Matthew Stafford, you always wonder, you get a new quarterback, and especially a new quarterback that's a veteran, who are they going to start to match up with? Like you see a great young connection with Burrow and Chase in Cincinnati. But here, you get a vet in Stafford going to a new team. Who's going to be that guy? And not like Kupp hasn't caught balls in the past, but that relationship seems to be there. He has 8 more targets than anybody else on the team, and you just got to feel that is going to keep going. And everybody knows it, yet they still find a way to get it to Cooper Kupp. What he's doing is incredible, and I hope he keeps the pace up.
And on that last touchdown, this is something Sims pointed out yesterday as we were watching the games. Kupp's in the backfield running that wheel route because they don't have a running back they trust to run that route.
Right.
So just put Cooper Kupp back there and let him do it. He's versatile enough to make it happen. Gets back to what we were saying earlier. Take your good football players, put them wherever you can to allow them to help you win football games. But, yeah, he's having an awesome year. It helps to have Matthew Stafford. Rams off to a 2-0 start and looking very good. Next one for me, and the 49ers, it is amazing that they were able to hold a roster together. They're going through this year what they went through last year. This is running back by congressional committee. That's my award. Now, for the San Francisco 49ers, there were 7 different guys who had rushing attempts yesterday. It felt near the end of the game against the Eagles like they were going to grab somebody out of the stands and put him in uniform to come in and play running back. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's banged up. It's incredible. They keep winning. You know, last year they had the East Coast swing, and they had the 2 games at MetLife Stadium with all the injuries in the first one against the Jets. And this year, the East Coast swing, with the 2 games on the road and the injuries. But they're 4-0. They got the right plan to win the games, but the injuries aren't as bad this time as last year. Not as impactful for the rest of the season. But they're doing what they can to hold it together. And it's just odd that for the second straight year, we've got all these injury issues. And for the 49ers, it's clustering at the running back position.
Yeah, whenever they stay at the Greenbrier like they did, you know, the resort, they always have guys limping around there for the last couple of years when they stay on the East Coast. But it is amazing. 7 guys carrying the ball. They ran the ball more than they threw it in a close game, 17-11. But again, you know, there are teams that can just completely throw the ball whenever they want, and you know they're going to be in it, like, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs. They can have the ball for 11 fewer minutes and have turnovers, but they feel that they can still make up for it. You know, San Fran's another one of those teams that likes to have a ground game to complement their passing game, and right now it's duct tape and chicken wire that they're holding it together with.
I was a big Scooby-Doo fan when I was a kid. We're about the same age. I don't know if you were a Scooby-Doo guy. Were you a Scooby-Doo guy? All right.
Oh,
and I remember being very disappointed when they felt compelled to wedge Scrappy-Doo into the mix. I didn't like that. I'm fine with Scooby. I don't need a mini version of Scooby in Scrappy. That's when it started to jump the shark for me. But I'm giving out the Scrappy-Doo award. Now, it's going to take me a little while to explain, but bear with me, please.
Okay.
Scooby-Doo was the original dog that saw ghosts. Well, Sam Darnold was the original Jets quarterback that saw ghosts. Zach Wilson was seeing him yesterday, so he's Scrappy-Doo. Until he shows otherwise, especially against the Patriots, Zach Wilson, 4 interceptions in 11 attempts. He is Scrappy-Doo. He was seeing ghosts. And somebody actually asked him in the post-game press conference about that notorious Sam Darnold remark of seeing ghosts on that Monday night from a couple of years ago. And I'm not worried about Zach Wilson. We've seen Bill Belichick do this to plenty of quarterbacks. The question is how he reacts from it. But it was noteworthy to see a guy with so much promise, so much potential being made to look so ordinary in his first go-around with Bill Belichick.
Oh, without a doubt. And I wasn't, not going to lie, I wasn't a scrappy dude either. I was just, you know, Scooby-Doo, ruh-roh. You know, I loved it. I loved Scooby-Doo. But, I mean, that also, I'm with you about, we can go to other young quarterbacks. Young quarterbacks, it was not a day for them, right? Trevor Lawrence, we know, is going to continue to struggle in Jacksonville. Everybody was clamoring for Justin Fields as well. Justin Fields gets a chance because Andy Dalton gets injured. Justin Fields under 50% completion, throws an interception, gets the ball knocked out of his hand. I mean, it's hard. You know, Davis Mills comes in for Tyrod Taylor, and he struggles for Houston as well. So I try to say this when people want to force the young quarterbacks in. Now, I get it, doing it on a team like the Jets because they're a bad team, doing it on a team like Jacksonville because they're a bad team. Get their reps and try and build around them. But I'll continue to say I didn't understand it in the Chicago situation where everybody wanted to force feed Justin Fields in because he looked good in preseason games where you're playing against vanilla defenses all the time. And rookie quarterbacks are going to make more mistakes than big plays. So for teams that have any kind of aspirations at the end of the year, and I know the Bears do, and we'll see where that can take them. Again, that might be a defensive-led team, and certainly with the 49ers, you got to have the veterans in there. But the rookies like Zach is going to make mistakes. Like Trevor is going to make mistakes. It's up to that team to build around them like they didn't do for Sam Darnold. They keep saying they're going to do when they get a quarterback, yet they rarely do it, and that's why Jet fans have the attitude that Jet fans have.
And Mike, Peter King made a great point in his latest edition of Football Morning in America. You can read it at profootballtalk.com. Joe Douglas, the GM of the Jets, has done Zach Wilson a disservice because the only other active quarterback yesterday was Mike White. You got to have somebody that you can put in the game when Zach Wilson is having a bad day.
Yep.
They needed to get him the hell out of there yesterday for his own good, for his own long-term well-being. And you're not going to put Mike White in the game. And it has been stunning to me that they didn't make a play for some sort of a veteran there just to mentor Zach Wilson. I know they're all in with him, but you can still find an older guy that's been around the block a few times who can come in if the guy gets injured or if he's scrappy-do all day long and ghosts are running all over the place and you just need to give him a break. It's okay. He's allowed to have a break. But you're not going to give him a break for Mike White. You got to have somebody else there that you can feel somewhat confident isn't going to go out there and make it 100 times worse.
I 100% agree with that. Again, I have no problem starting a young guy, handing the ball. I mean, it's what they should have done in Jacksonville instead of the ridiculous Gardner Minshew. This was going to be a competition. In New York, they handed Zach Wilson the ball, said, you're the guy. And we knew Trevor was going to be the guy. And they're going to have tough games. But I completely agree with you. Every now and then, they're going to have a game like that where you just need to say, hey, young pup, go scrappy. Go sit down. Go take a break, take a breath, collect yourself. You can sit out the rest of this one. But you're right. You need a veteran. You need some kind of veteran presence to go step in that huddle because there are still 10 other guys standing out on the field waiting to see who's supposed to come in and lead that offense because the game's not over. You got to finish the game. So I agree with you. I think a veteran backup is very, very key.
And Robert Saleh, the coach of the Jets, made an interesting comment yesterday after the game, how he wants the offense to be more boring. He doesn't want all of these chances to be taken. Well, then why did you guys take Zach Wilson? Because this is a guy who's got that Mahomesian flair. He's got the Aaron Rodgers to him. This is a guy who, if harnessed and taught properly, is going to give you explosive offense, not safe, conservative, we're going to grind it out and win with defense. I mean, the way Saleh was explaining it, hell, maybe they should have taken Mac Jones at number 2 before the Patriots could get him at number 15, because it sounds like after yesterday's game, Saleh would rather have Mac Jones, or at least a guy who plays like Mac Jones, and they can get into a close game and try to bend the right break at the right time their way.
I'm going to disagree with you because I think he's saying, I guess in essence it's coach speak. Because the other side of that is coming out and saying, we want to throw the ball all the way around the field. We want to be a passing team. We want to be a big play team. You want to live, you actually would love to live on 30 runs and 30 passes every game if you could do it, and a solid defense. Now, if you happen to get a Patrick Mahomes who can, make miracles happen, then great. But I don't think you go into it that way, Mike. You don't go into it saying, okay, we got this quarterback. Man, we are going to fly around, throw the ball around everywhere, try and score 40 points a game. You want to build a balanced offense. And if out of that balanced offense comes a great passing game, or all of a sudden the quarterback steps up and he becomes a Patrick Mahomes, which can be a rarity, or a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady, which can be a rarity. Other than that, I think you want to be able to rely on other aspects of your offense and certainly your defense.
And Mahomes sat for most of all his rookie year. Rodgers sat for 3 and kind of learned the game behind the scenes. It's what the Bears have been trying to do with Justin Fields, and maybe that's the difference. It's easier to develop that guy into a great passer if he isn't forced into the fray. And here's Zach Wilson, young and looking much younger than he is. All of a sudden, week 2, he's dealing with Bill Belichick, and they're going to have to do some work on the fly to get him to set that one behind him, forget about it, and learn from it, and move on. And maybe they do need to make things a little more conservative in the short term in order to let him get to the point where he's confident going out and doing those great things that he did at BYU.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.